Today we'll be getting into the most popular value resort on property, Disney's Art of Animation Resort. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, June 29th, and you're listening to episode 94, Resort Spotlight, Disney's Art of Animation Resort. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. Media previews of the reimagined test track started rolling in this week, and it looks really good. We got an up-close look at the new ride vehicles that look a little bit more futuristic, and we really like the look of them. And that interactive area where you used to be able to build your car before getting on the attraction is actually gone completely. That space has been revamped, and it looks really good in there. It's just like you do no longer build a car before the attraction. It has 6 new show scenes total, including a large dome screen that shows a futuristic city right before you get launched outside, and an area with greenery where they pump in pine smell, which is quintessential Disney. And then that exterior portion of the ride, right, where you go up to 65 miles per hour, that's not changed, right? So thrill and speed seekers can rest easy. That has remained pretty much exactly how you remember it. Based on what we've seen, it looks really, really, really good. It's a great update, and we actually can't wait to experience it in person. And big news this week is Disney received approval from the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District to build a 5th gate or a 5th park at Walt Disney World. Now, this news was all over social media this week, but it's important to note a few things. So this document is over 400 pages long, and it covers at length what Disney could undertake in the next 20 years. But none of this is an indication that a 5th park is actually happening. Disney actually has many reasons to continue expanding on their current park versus building a brand new one. So long story short, while this news seems exciting and it's nice that Disney has the flexibility to undertake a massive project like a 5th gate if they want to, this doesn't mean that they will. But having said that, it's relative here because they are taking on massive projects we know, right, that they have announced. So we have a lot to look forward to regardless. Disney announced that Spaceship Earth at Epcot would be temporarily closing for a routine refurbishment on August 25th. So Disney has previously teased an overhaul of this attraction, but this is not that. It's set to reopen later in 2025, and as far as we know, it's just routine refurbishment. And over in Magic Kingdom, Journey of the Little Mermaid will also close on July 21st, but that's for just a little bit of TLC because it's only going to be for a few days. It's set to reopen on July 26th, so really just a 5-day closure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your sister was disappointed because Spaceship Earth is going to be closed while they're on their trip. But
yeah, that's too bad. Yep.
It is what it is. Every ride needs a routine refurbishment from time to time. And then still at Magic Kingdom, we also got an official closure date for Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. This is going to be an extended closure because it's getting much needed updates, including a new scene with a brand new robot character, and then they're updating the targets and the blasters. So it's set to remain closed for the rest of the year and then reopen sometime in 2026. No opening timeline has been shared yet, so we're going to keep our ear to the ground for an update on that one. The monorail at Walt Disney World is getting a glow up, literally. To add to the lighting that is illuminating the underside of the trains, they're getting glowing Walt Disney World monorail system lettering on the side of the trains this week. I find that actually really exciting. That's going to look really cool at night.
Yeah, for sure.
So we already obviously love seeing the lights of the trains after the sun goes down. This is going to be that perfect little touch just to add a little something more to it. It's very exciting.
Agreed.
And then over in Universal Studios, Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, or HHN, which is Universal's hard-ticketed after-hours event in their Universal Studios Florida park, they have now confirmed 7 out of the 10 houses coming to the event for 2025. So these houses are Five Nights at Freddy's, Fallout, Jason Universe, El Artista, A Spanish Haunting, Hatchet and Chains, Demon Bounty Hunters, Dolls, Let's Play Dead, Grave of Flesh, and lastly, Gulkin, Monsters of the North. More news will be trickling in as the event nears, and the first Halloween Horror Nights is slated to start on August 29th.
Yeah, exactly. And, aside from that, happy Sunday, everyone. Summer vacation is officially on for us. So baseball season just wrapped up this morning, and dance, swim lessons, everything else is done until September. So we're pretty excited to get some time back in the evenings and weekends for the next couple of months. So we hope you're getting, some time to wind down a bit as well and enjoy some vacation, or at the very least, some family time. It gets hectic during the hustle and bustle of the week to week. We're fully alive to that fact, right? During the school year,
It's crazy.
and work, right? It's just, so it's important to take time when possible to just reset and recharge and just slow down for a bit.
Absolutely. And like realistically, we know a lot of you spend more waking hours at work than you honestly do at home every week. So it's definitely important to take that family time when you get it. I'm always telling my coworkers, I see you guys more than I see my own darn family sometimes. So it is nice to just kind of feel like we have our evenings back where we're not like getting home from work, eating supper really quickly, getting out the door for whatever, and then right to bed and then back into it. It's kind of nice to just slow it down a little bit.
We'll be able to just chill more in the evening, maybe go for a walk, spend some time. Yeah, it's going to be nice. With that said, let's get into today's main topic, which is Disney's Art of Animation Resort. This is the newest of the Value Resorts lineup. And a fun fact about this resort is that it was originally slated to be part of Pop's Century Resort, like as an expansion on the classic years. So when construction for the Pop Century Resort began way back in 1999, the resort was supposed to be split into two sections on either side of Hourglass Lake. These would be the classic years covering the 1950s to 1990s, and then the legendary years section would be where Art of Animation currently sits, and that would be 1900s to the 1940s. Each side of the lake would have its own check-in desk, restaurants, merchandise store, and pools with Generation Gap Bridge separating them. Construction was going along on both sides of the resort until 9/11, which, as you know, hugely impacted the travel industry and caused an economic downturn as well. Construction slowly started ramping up again, but only on the classic years side of the lake. Construction for this side was completed in 2003, and the resort opened as Pop Century, the classic years. The legendary years were set to be completed in 2007, but that actually never happened. The existing unfinished buildings remained untouched for a really long time.
And then in 2010, Disney finally announced what would actually be built on this side of the lake, and that was obviously Disney's Art of Animation Resort. The lobby would be named Animation Hall, and the resort would sport family suites due to the success these room types were having over at All-Star Resorts. One caveat being that the existing legendary year building that became the Little Mermaid Rooms already had exterior hallways, just like Palm Century had. But the other buildings that house the suites that were built later do have interior hallways. Just an interesting fact, because there's definitely that distinction between the Little Mermaid building and then the other buildings, which we'll get to in a little bit. So it finally opened its doors to the public nearly a decade later than Pop Century, and completely different from its original concept. And the opening date was May 31st of 2012.
Yeah, and I find the history of Walt Disney World and really just the Walt Disney Company as a whole just so interesting. And, over the years, like with the parks and the resorts specifically, there have been many projects that, didn't come to fruition or were just completely like wildly different than what they were originally intended by the time they opened. I'm obviously a Disney nerd, so that's right up my alley. And we've mentioned this before, but the Imagineering Story miniseries on Disney Plus does a really good job of covering like the history of the parks. And there's actually a book as well that expands on some of the things that's covered in the series. So if that interests you, I strongly recommend both of these for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. But today isn't a Disney history lesson. That would be a good episode, though, I think, a future one.
Yep.
But let's get into why this resort could be a good choice for you and your family for your next trip. So like we said, this resort sits on Hourglass Lake, right across from Pop Century, and they share the Skyliner station there, which sits at Generation Gap Bridge between the two resorts. Opening in 2019, this was a massive plus for both of these resorts, and what, in our opinion, makes them both a better option than the All-Stars for that reason alone. In terms of location on property, this is a one stop away from Caribbean Beach and then by extension to the Riviera Resort. And it's a very quick transfer to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, and also that boardwalk area of the resort. Like we said in our opening, this is probably the most popular of the Disney Value Resorts for three main reasons. One, it has the Skyliner access. Two, it has a ton of family suites, which is really good for families just to spread out. And then, of course, for the larger families as well. And three, it has the most Disney theming of all the Value Resorts.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, let's talk about the theming. So like the name implies, the resort is themed to Disney and Pixar animation. So the different areas of the resort are themed to beloved Disney stories like Little Mermaid, Cars, Lion King, and Finding Nemo. If you look at the resort from aerial view, or even just pull this up on the My Disney Experience app so you can see, the resort is laid out pretty much identically to Pop Century. So each section of the buildings are themed to these stories, right? And you can actually see on the My Disney Experience app as well, the large statues that are present in each area, like Ariel and Flounder, and then King Triton in the Little Mermaid areas, Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa in the Lion King, Nemo, Dory, and the other characters in Finding Nemo, and then like Lightning McQueen, Mater, among like the other cars in the Cars area. Each series of buildings have a color palette that fits the theme. So for example, there's a lot of blue, at the Little Mermaid section, right? With like ocean vibes kind of thing. Whereas you have like more yellows, red, and burnt orange colors over in the Cars area to fit in with like the desert scene kind of thing.
So the main lobby is located closest to the Finding Nemo rooms, and it's named Animation Hall. The front of the resort has large prints of Ariel, Simba, Lightning McQueen, and Nemo. Inside, the back wall of the check-in desk is illuminated and backlit into like a rainbow of colors. It's very beautiful.
Very beautiful.
And the wall that faces it has a ton of prints and like semi-finished drawings of various Disney and Pixar characters, which actually fits in perfectly with the animation theming. We absolutely love this lobby here. Last time we were there, actually it's probably 2 trips ago now with the kids. We just took a little Skyliner trip and we just wanted to walk around and check it out. And we were very, very impressed with the lobby. It was very nice. It's so bright and colorful. And again, part of the reason that it's so loved by families, when you think of staying at a Disney resort, this is what comes to people's minds. It's filled with that IP that you grew up with and your kids will completely recognize. It's very nostalgic, very wonderful. Unfortunately, our kids have never stayed here, but they definitely loved it. It was A+ in their books for all of that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were staying at the Wilderness Lodge on that trip, which is hilarious to think that because they were like, oh, we want to stay at this resort, right? And that they'd want to stay at a Valley Resort over a Deluxe. But, to a kid, this is what Lucy's saying, right? It's a dream come true because the theming is really like awesome and like overt. Yeah. And then aside from, just the overall vibes, there is some actual things in here, right? So the main quick service and merchandise stores are located in the lobby. And the store is named Ink and Paint Shop. And the quick service is named Landscape of Flavors. The layout of the store and quick service is pretty much the same thing that you're going to find over at Pop Century, in that one leads to the other. So from the main lobby, you walk through the store to get to the restaurant, but there's also doors to the outside as well if you're coming from elsewhere on the resort, like to get into Landscape of Flavors. So in terms of layout of the resort, the furthest rooms from the lobby are the Little Mermaid Rooms. And if you're facing the front of the resort, this is going to be the area furthest to your left. There are 3 buildings here and they're shaped like the letter T, like actual like the letter T, right? Just like over at Pop Century. The 3 buildings each have a large statue with King Triton on one side and Ursula on the other. And then these 2 face each other. And then perpendicular to both of these is the Little Mermaid building with Ariel. These 3 buildings face the flipping fins pool in the center of the space. The buildings are 4 stories high here, and they have exterior hallways, again, exactly like what you're going to find over at Pop Century. The buildings are painted blue, like we alluded to, right? And there's like fish and bubbles and clams decorating the railings and the outside of the buildings, which gives it that fun theming that your kids are definitely going to appreciate. So one thing we do hear a lot about the Little Mermaid Rooms and this area of the resort in general is that it's super far from everything. So a couple of things here. It's true that these rooms are the furthest rooms from both the lobby and the Skyliner station. Like there's no disputing that. Having said that, they're pretty much the exact same distance as the 80s and 90s area of Pop to its lobby and the Skyliner station. So really, it's no better or worse than that. And it's not the largest resort on property. Like the Trinidad rooms over at Caribbean are definitely further from both the Skyliner and the lobby over there. So it's all relative, right? It's far, but it's not like super far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like we've mentioned this before, but if you do have mobility concerns or small kids, this can definitely be a bit of a hurdle. So it's something to consider for sure. But if your kids are school aged or older, and if you don't have anybody with mobility concerns and you don't need those strollers, it really is not that bad.
Agreed. Yep.
The area next to the Little Mermaid buildings is the Lion King buildings. The buildings are shaped the exact same way, and there are only 2 buildings here. The buildings face each other and there's no pool in this area, but you can have quick access to the Flippin' Fins pool or the big blue pool near the lobby. The buildings are also 4 stories here, but the hallways are interior hallways and the buildings hold family suites. The outside of the buildings have green and yellow color palettes with trees, and the outline of animals painted on the buildings is very pretty. And then in the center of the space where the pool area would be are several Lion King statues. So you have Simba, Timon and Pumbaa, Scar, and the hyenas, and the elephant graveyard as well, which is really cool. Yeah. Again, it's a really fun theme that the whole family can definitely appreciate. And then directly beside the Lion King area is the main lobby, and then by extension, Ink and Paint Shop and Landscapes of Flavor. And behind the resort are 2 additional buildings that make up the Finding Nemo area. These buildings are exactly like the Lion King in that they are 4 stories high with interior hallways and suites. The buildings face each other, and then that big blue pool is right there in the middle, directly behind the resort. There's also a pool bar, a spray park, and a playground here as well. The exterior of the buildings are painted blue, meant to look obviously like the ocean, with coral reef elements and characters from the franchise painted on the building.
Yeah, exactly. And in the center, like around the pool and the playground, there are large statues of characters from the movie. So think Nemo, Crush, Dory, Mr. Ray, and all of the fish from like Nemo's class. I don't know all their names off by heart, but
cute.
Yeah, it's super cute. And, like we're saying, this is the most themed and fun area like of the resort for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And then lastly, to the right of the Finding Nemo area, so right of the main lobby when you're facing it, is the cars area. So there's 3 buildings here as well. And again, it's interior hallways and family suites. The buildings are painted like we were saying earlier, like a desert backdrop. So blue skies and like mountains and hoodoos and sand, just like in the movies, right? The walkway in the center of the space actually looks like a road with like, painted lines that like, it looks exactly like a street basically, right? So It's super, super cute. And then that walkway is lined with large statues like of the Cars franchise. So like Lightning McQueen, Mater, Sally, Doc, Luigi from Luigi's Tires, among others. The theming here is really fun and we really like cars. And they really did a great job here. It's a super cute area. There's a pool in the middle of the 3 buildings here as well called the Cozy Cone Pool. And there are large cabanas shaped like big like orange traffic cones right by the pool as well, which is fun.
Yeah, theming is on point at this entire resort.
Agreed.
Honestly, it's so great. So next up, let's talk room categories. So it's pretty simple, actually. You only have 2 room categories here, and which building you stay in is going to determine what room category you'll have. So if you're booking a Little Mermaid standard, you'll be in the Little Mermaid area with views of the courtyard, pool, or parking areas. These rooms start around $220 a night, and they range and get more expensive, obviously, during peak seasons. The rooms have either 2 queens or 1 king bed, a table with a couple of chairs, and a TV and TV stand. The bathroom is split between the sink area, and then the toilet and tub shower combo is separated by a pocket door, which is pretty standard with a lot of Disney rooms. The rooms are blue, so the floor is not carpeted, and it's blue. The walls are blue, and they have Little Mermaid artwork on the walls.
The rooms are like super blue.
Yeah, very blue. The curtains that separate the bathroom and the shower curtains are also themed to the Little Mermaid. It's very heavily themed. It's very good. These rooms are actually pretty simple, but if you're not spending a ton of time in your room or at your resort, this is honestly everything you'll need.
Yeah, exactly. I stayed here for a couple of nights on my solo trip, and it was fine, right? No issues with my stay whatsoever. I will say that I prefer the layout of the rooms over at Pop. That Murphy bed that doubles as a table is nice to have, and you just get a ton of room back in the room, right? And it just feels more functional because of that. And then aside from those standard rooms in the Little Mermaid area, you have family suites. So you can book a family suite in the area of your choice. So that's either going to be Cars, The Lion King, or Finding Nemo. The Cars and Lion King area are pretty much the same price and start at just over $500 a night. And then the Finding Nemo suites start at just under $550 a night. And then you can also book a family suite without a theme assigned to it. And then your theme is going to be actually assigned when you check in. And you can save a bit of money this way. These rooms start at just under $500 a night. The Nemo rooms are the most expensive because they're the closest to the main lobby, the flagship pool, and the Skyliner station. Now, you might be wondering, why are these rooms on the high end of moderate/low end deluxe resort prices? And it's very simple, right? It's because these are like actual suites. So the rooms come equipped with a bedroom with a queen bed, a pull-down Murphy bed that's also a queen, and that doubles as like a table with actual 4 chairs. So it's room for, a small family. And then it also has a pull-out sofa bed, so it can sleep up to 6 people. They also have a little kitchenette with a sink, a microwave, a coffee maker, and a mini fridge. And, they're definitely a good size, and they can definitely be more comfortable for a family, or just a larger family, right? Plus being able to fold up that Murphy bed during the daytime is really nice, and it makes the space like that much more functional. In terms of costs for a suite on Walt Disney World property, it's actually dirt cheap, right? A 1-bedroom suite in a deluxe resort would set you back like around $1,000 per night, if not more. So yeah, when you think around $500, it's for a 1-bedroom suite on Disney property. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Absolutely. And honestly, like when you have little kids, if they can, even if you had like a playpen and then another kid, some parents choose to like put the kids in the bedroom.
Yep.
That way you can put them away for the night, get them all tucked in, and then you have that space. Close the door.
Yep.
You have that space to not have to go to bed super early.
For sure.
And then you still have that sofa bed to sleep on, and you're just as comfortable as you would be in the room. And then kind of everybody's got some space. So I can definitely see the appeal of these.
Yep.
And of course, the theming of these rooms is super fun as well. The Lion King rooms have green walls and Lion King artwork on the walls that feature characters from the movie and safari animals. The curtains, shower curtain, and even the tile in the shower are themed as well. The car rooms have gray and red walls. The furniture pieces look like workbenches that you would find like in a mechanic shop. There's Cars-themed artwork on the walls, the shower curtains, and the curtains. In terms of what's in the room, it's the exact same thing as the Lion King suites. And then lastly is the Finding Nemo suites. Here, the floors are blue and the walls are a lighter shade of blue. There are pops of orange in the furniture to represent Nemo. There's Finding Nemo artwork on the walls, the curtains, and the shower curtain as well. And then again, the contents and the furniture in the room are the same layout as the other suites. All of these suites are super well themed, very cute, and definitely really great for families. We would definitely recommend to stay here for families with young kids or school-age kids. The theming and then obviously that extra space will just definitely make any kid and adult very happy. We've actually never stayed here with the kids, like I'd said earlier, but if we were, we would definitely 100% be booking a suite.
Definitely a suite over the Little Mermaid Rooms, definitely, just for the functionality of it. Yeah. All right, next up, let's talk dining. So again, this is a value resort, so dining options are going to be limited. Like we said earlier, the main quick service location here is an animation hall, which is the lobby, right? And it's named Landscape of Flavors. The space is really colorful with blue flooring that looks like water in the dining area. There's like coral reef artwork in the space, and just the walls are painted different colors as well. There's actually 4 dining rooms here, and they're not like really separated, but they are themed to the other areas of the resort, right? So it's bright and fun in here for sure. It's typically open 7 a.m. and closes around 11 p.m. So of course they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. On the breakfast menu, you'll find classic quick service offerings that you can find at pretty much any other quick service on property. They have egg and pancake platters, breakfast sandwiches, and other options like an avocado bowl and breakfast tachos. They also have options like fruit cups, yogurt, and oats as well. And then of course they have a huge assortment of pastries. So if you prefer to start your day with something sweet, right? No judgment here. You're on vacation. And then of course you have like standard and specialty coffees because coffee is life.
Yeah. And then for lunch and dinner, they have some really good options as well, like a Mongolian beef with steamed rice and veggies, butter chicken with naan bread, ramen noodle bowls, chicken adobo nachos, fish and chips, pizza and pasta dishes, burgers and sandwiches, soups, salads, hot dogs, tons of options, obviously. And then they have a ton of bakery options as well that are resort-themed sweets like the Mermaid Tail Cupcake and the Sketchbook Cake. Then they also have their grab-and-go options as well that you can take with you on your way out for the day or take back to your room after a long day. Did you end up eating in this place at all when you were there?
No.
I can't remember you saying anything.
I wanted to stop for one of those Nemo treats.
That's
it was
right.
like a little dome cake, but I never did. I was too full from everything else
And
I was eating.
If it doesn't open until 7 a.m., I assume you probably didn't even grab a coffee from here.
No,
hey?
I wasn't. No, I didn't on either morning. Yeah.
Then just outside the back doors of the main lobby near the big blue pool, you have the drop-off pool bar. This, as you can imagine, is themed to the Nemo's drop-off. It's typically open from 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. They have a small menu of entrees that they serve between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. They have a Caesar salad with chicken, an Italian sandwich, chicken strips, a turkey and provolone sandwich, and a chili cheese hot dog. They also have pizza, charcuterie service with cheese, salami, ham, grapes, tomatoes, and olives, a Greek salad, and a soft pretzel. They also have a selection of frozen treats, alcoholic and non-alcoholic cocktails, and then beer and wine as well. It's an okay place to grab a quick bite when you're hanging out by the pool, but if you definitely want more options, you don't have to go very far to get to the Landscape of Flavors.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much it for dining, right? If you're looking for something different, you could definitely head to Pop Century across Hourglass Lake, but their options are pretty much the same. But if you hop on the Skyliner, you can actually head to Caribbean Beach Resort or Riviera, who both have more dining options, including table service restaurants. And if you keep going, you could head to the Boardwalk area by the International Gateway entrance. And there's a ton of dining options here as well, including the brand new Cake Bake Shop, which is definitely worth a visit. And, you know, that's honestly like the best thing about the Skyliner, right? It gives you access to other places on property pretty effortlessly, which is really nice.
The Skyliner is a fun ride.
Yeah, exactly.
I love getting on it every single time.
Next up, let's talk pools and recreation. So just like the other value resorts, the flagship pool here doesn't have a water slide. Okay, so this is only found at the moderate and deluxe resorts. But Art of Animation does have the largest pool on Walt Disney World property, and that's the Big Blue Pool, which is the main like Finding Nemo themed pool right behind the doors to the main lobby.
And we can honestly attest it is a
awesome.
very big pool. It's very cool and beautifully themed.
Agreed. There's Finding Nemo theming all around the space, including large jellyfish statues like right in the pool itself. There's also a splash pad right next to the pool for like the younger kids, which is nice. It's just a generally really nice pool area. The Flip and Fins pool is all the way over in the Little Mermaid area. It's actually a really good size considering that it's not a flagship pool. So if your kids are fine with swimming over here, it's actually going to be much closer if you're staying in this area of the resort for sure.
And probably a little quieter,
for sure.
I would
Yeah,
assume.
definitely. If your kids are a little older or you're like an adult only trip, this pool is definitely going to be like on average quieter than the like Big Blue Pool. Yeah.
And still has lots to offer in terms of size, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the other end of the resort is the Cars area. And this is where you're going to find the Cozy Cone pool. This pool is a little smaller than the Flip and Fins pool. And it's shaped essentially like a giant U or like a rainbow shape. Same thing here, though, much closer if you're staying in this area. And it's on average way quieter than the Big Blue pool for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then for other recreation options, like all of the other Disney resorts, they do campfire activities every evening where you can get free marshmallows and then a s'mores kit for a fee. There's also movies under the stars around 8:30 p.m. near the Big Blue pool. There's a walking/running trail around the resort and the Hourglass Lake for a workout or just a really lovely evening stroll. There's the Righteous Reef Playground in the Finding Nemo area, and then the Pixel Play Arcade in Animation Hall. They have a few activities on right now for Cool Kids Summer. So Monday through Thursday, the Generation Gap Bridge between 8:30 and 9 a.m. There's activities for the kids as you're getting ready to head to the parks via the Skyliner. Disney characters are meeting inside and outside of the lobby daily from 8:50 to 9:20 a.m. and then again in the afternoon from 3:35 to 3:55 p.m. Inside Animation Hall, there's fun interactive games for the kids on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 3:25 and 5:05 p.m. and then again on Tuesdays and Fridays at 1:35 and 6:55 p.m. There are also pajama parties on Sundays and then Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. on the movie lawn near the Big Blue pool right before Movie Under the Stars.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also Storytime Yoga near the Big Blue pool on Wednesdays from 9 to 9:30 a.m. And there's a family wellness dance class that's over in the Lion King area. And this is Fridays between 9 and 9:30 as well. There are poolside activities on the Big Blue pool deck daily between 1 and 2:30 p.m. And at Pride Rock near the Lion King area, there's a campfire nightly between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. And over at the movie lawn near the Big Blue pool, there's nighttime trivia on Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m. and a nighttime pool party on Saturdays at 8:30. So there's a lot going on, essentially like where they do the movie and then by the Big Blue pool.
Yes,
yeah.
Lots to do. So much fun to be had.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also a few activities that actually are going to cost a fee. So you can make a Mickey tie-dye t-shirt just outside of Animation Hall on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 3 and 4 p.m. Inside Animation Hall, you can make your own mosaic craft on Wednesdays at 12:30 and Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 3 to 4. You can make a Nemo theme craft as well. All of the times of these activities are on the Walt Disney World website under the Recreation tab for the Additive Animation page. And they're also going to have like a message board physically in the lobby with all of this information as well. And as always, when you're in doubt, right, just ask a cast member. They're going to be able to help you. And if they don't know, they're going to find someone who can.
Oh, absolutely. They are very knowledgeable, the cast members.
And very friendly. Yeah.
And very friendly indeed. So next up, let's talk location and transportation. So like we said, the resort is on Hourglass Lake and it's right next door to Pop Century. Being that it's on the Skyliner, it is a great location on property and not far from Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. We covered this in our Pop Century episode, and really the transportation options are identical for both of these resorts. But in case you didn't listen to that episode, but are listening to this one, here goes. So like we said earlier, the Skyliner station is on Generation Gap Bridge between the two resorts. When you get on here, it'll take you straight to the Caribbean Beach Resort Station, which is the main hub for the entire Skyliner system. So once you've arrived at the Caribbean Beach Resort, you can either take the Hollywood Studios line to Hollywood Studios or the Epcot line to Epcot. The Epcot line has that rolling stop at Riviera where the doors open and then you can get off and people will get on, but it just honestly continues straight to the International Gateway entrance to Epcot from there. And then the Hollywood Studios line is a straight shot from Caribbean Beach Resort, and it's actually a really quick ride.
Yeah, we're talking like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the biggest con of the Skyliner at the resort for us is first thing in the morning, if you are wanting to get on it early for rope drop at the parks. The lineups for the Skyliner get long really early in the morning.
Yep.
So when the park opens at 9 a.m. and early entry is at 8:30, the Skyliner will usually start running just before 7:30. And guests are actually starting to line up as early as just after 6 a.m., which is more than an hour before the Skyliner starts running. Guests from Art of Animation will line up on one side of the bridge, and then guests from Pop are going to line up on the other side. And then when they open the Skyliner, they will zipper guests from both sides. And the lines are long on both sides. So if you arrive late, it could definitely take a while to get on. Don't get us wrong, we absolutely love the Skyliner, but rope dropping from Pop or Art of Animation just really isn't the best experience. You will literally enter the line, I think, and just feel anxiety right away.
Yeah, it's a line and then just before you get into the line at the parks, right?
It's a lot of waiting in the morning. And with kids, that's not always the nicest experience. So if you want to get to the park early and don't want to have a super long line, You just really need to head there early. This is probably our least favorite part of staying at either of these resorts.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And we've told this story before, but I was doing a resort swap between Art of Animation and Pop Century on my January trip. And I was walking my luggage early in the morning, just after 6 a.m. And I was floored to see that there was already guests lined up. But having said all that, outside of the first thing in the morning, okay, don't take this to mean it's not great. It's actually super pleasant to take the Skyliner to and from these resorts. And it's one of our absolute favorite ways to get around on property for sure. So with that said, long story short, from Art of Animation, it's Skyliner to Epcot and Hollywood Studios and buses to Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Disney Springs. There's just one bus stop at this resort right outside the main lobby. And it's at the front of the resort, right? There's a station for each destination with screens giving you the estimated arrival time for the next bus. A good rule of thumb is to arrive around 10 to 15 minutes before the buses are set to start running for the day. That's best practice if you want to get on that first bus.
Every time.
Typically speaking, this is around 90 to 75 minutes before early entry. So if the park is opening at 9, early entry is 8:30. Buses are going to start between 7 and 7:15 a.m. on average, depending how far the park is from that resort. Given that there's only one station, if you're staying here and those Little Mermaid rooms, you'll have a decent walk first thing in the morning, and then the real kicker is at the end of a long park day,
yeah,
right?
When everybody's tired.
Yeah, exactly. But on the plus side, you don't have to deal with an internal bus loop. It's straight to the park and straight back. So that could be nice for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So with that said, let's get into the pros and cons of staying at this resort. So for pros, the Skyliner is a big plus outside of obviously that first thing in the morning type of situation. It is super easy and convenient, and it's a great way to get around this area of property and then over to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. Plus, like we said, very quick access to the other resorts on the Skyliner and Boardwalk area as well. The theming. This is the most Disney/Pixar themed resort of all the resorts on property, in our opinion. It's bright and colorful and just has that Disney feel throughout. So it's really, really good theming for the families with younger kids. It also offers family suites, which gives you a room category with space to spread out a little bit more, which can honestly be a godsend for when you are staying in a relatively small hotel room with families of 4 or more. And the big blue pool, which doesn't have a slide, but it's still a massive pool area, and the theming makes it a hit with most families.
Yeah, exactly. And then for cons, price. Okay, so this might seem strange that given that it's a value resort, right? But of the 3 value resorts, it's the one whose room prices are consistently the highest. So it's usually in order: All Stars at the cheapest, Pop somewhere in the middle, and Art of Animation a little bit more expensive. The family suites are definitely nice to have, but they're expensive at $500 a night or more, which is pretty high for many families, us included. But the big caveat here is that if you're looking for a 1-bedroom suite, you won't find any cheaper anywhere on property, right? Except maybe All Stars. All Stars Music has also family suites. So there's that, right? Dining as well. This isn't exclusive to Art of Animation, right? But it really only has that one quick service option. So it does limit you. But if you want to go anywhere else, you do have the Skyliner that can take you to other places, right? And then another con, right, is those Skyliner lines, right? First thing in the morning, they just get so long so quickly. It's a bit of a drag to have to get up early to essentially rope drop the Skyliner and then rope drop the parks. But yeah, it's still nice to have the Skyliner outside of first thing in the morning.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll leave you with our closing thoughts. So we actually love Art of Animation. There's a lot to like about its location on property, which actually makes it ideal. It doesn't take long to get anywhere, right? The furthest park is Magic Kingdom, and it's maybe a 10-minute bus ride or so. And it's actually really centrally located, which is quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, we've said it many times, but the theming is perfect for families wanting that full Disney experience where you are immersed in the theming the entire time. Plus, any resort on the Skyliner checks our seal of approval for that reason alone. So, would we recommend to stay here? Absolutely, 100% we would. It's great for families and it's reasonably priced by Disney standards, which as parents of young kids is 2 check marks we've always been looking for. If the things that we talked about today sound appealing to you, you should definitely consider this resort for your next Disney vacation.
Yeah, agreed 100%. With that said, thank you for joining us today to talk Disney's Art of Animation Resort. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Go.to-Disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.